access, or you need to get the Moon Pearl, or you need to get the item from Lumberjack, which can have progression. But then there's also the pedestal, which is also not required, but it can be holding the most important item, and we are getting started. I don't recognize that message at all.
I've never seen that. I think it's supposed to be like some kind of other language error message. Well, it doesn't compute, and 5 rupees is all we're getting from Link's house. Interestingly enough, Acmlm does pick up an extra rupee, not too important, but always nice to see a favorable drop for anybody.
Now, there's our map check real quick. Green pendant at desert, and I believe we have crystals in our other 2 light world dungeons, so...
Yeah, those are 7 and 1, so nothing for the pyramid fairy, but still crystals we need either way.
Yep. So what item do you want them to troll our runners? Because that's always a fun game to play. And we do have that bomb start.
Immediately. The item that's going to troll our runners hopefully won't be the bombs.
No.
So this is very interesting. Our runners have to keep at least 1 bomb for the back of escape. If they don't, they run the risk of missing a very important item back there.
Yes. However, there is a safety in play, I forgot to mention, regarding the escape sequence. If they run out of ammunition for a required kill, they can save and quit, and they'll be given a few shots of whatever weapon they started with back.
Yep, in the case of bombs, it would be 3 bombs, and it would depend on how far into the escape they progressed. So if they managed to get all the way to Zelda, and they died or intentionally took a death warp, they would respawn at Zelda's cell. If they make it to the mantle, that's where they start at. If they only made it to, the room before Zelda, they'd spawn all the way back at the entrance of the castle.
Yeah. But that is, albeit a very annoying scenario, that is a way they can circumvent the lack of bombs, is that they can just do a forced save quit to get those bombs back. And we only have another 20 rupees. And already you can see just how difficult it is to get bomb kills, because unlike other weapons, bombs are on a timer and you cannot really aim them properly. You basically have to lure the guards around.
Pretty much, and the guards will follow you around almost religiously. I mean, they do stop after a certain amount of time, and their patrol routes can be kind of influenced to some extent. But when it comes down to this escape, I mean, both of our runners have wasted bombs already. I'm kind of surprised by this. Very difficult, start to do, but could be very costly. Neither of them have taken damage until just now. We are getting through most of the required kills here, though. There is a ball and chain guard in the basement that we can kill with pots. Acmlm will probably do that because, he's got half a heart left.
Yeah. A lot of runners are throwing the bombs. That actually does lower their fuse. Some runners, though, I've seen have just trapped the guards above the chest and just laid bombs so that the guard just runs blindly into the explosion range.
Well, ACM there channeling his inner Solid Snake, making sure that guard didn't see him.
Boy. I think DT's gonna have to leave and re-enter. Oh no, he got one of the pots on him.
Yeah, that was close. Since chat's asking who we are, just to reiterate if you're just tuning in, my name's inthenameofDT, and today I'm joined by WolfLink0370. And
yes,
since I asked him before, how are you doing today?
Doing very good.
Excellent. I'm not sure how DT's doing, though. Look at his Link sprite.
Yeah. I guess the negativity's getting to him a bit.
I appreciate you making the joke. I was like, maybe he'll take it. Maybe I should. Hey, but inverted or not, he is on his way out of escape and has a pretty healthy advantage on ACM for this escape sequence so far. Also has an extra bomb.
Yeah, but here comes the true final boss of the bomb escape. The rat. Yes, the rat.
Yeah, we're not even... And keep in mind, folks, you may have been watching other, tournaments like Dark Souls tournament. You may be thinking a rat boss. Well, that's weird. No, this is Link to the Past, and this rat is more frustrating than you could hope for.
They're fast. They move somewhat randomly. And in this case, this particular rat has a small key we need to advance. Oh, and the room is also partially dark. We do get this free light cone, but that's about it for our range of vision.
Yep, so for those of you who aren't introduced to Randomizer or the particular nuances of recent logics, the light world does not normally give you a light cone in the dark rooms, but in the escape sequence, you're always given one. Typically, the game forces you to have lamp if you're playing vanilla, so we don't have to worry about that here.
Yes. This free cone only persists, though, for the escape sequence. Any other dark rooms outside of this location, you're going to have to find that lamp.
Oh, this
Although
is a tense situation here.
Yeah. I will also say, though, the lamp isn't technically required if you know how to navigate the dark rooms.
Yeah, and there were previous logics that people would actually do that here in the escape. Ooh, DT drops a bomb.
There we go. There is the rat kill for DT. Acmlm about to hit it too. Only has 2 bombs though. And does a nice kamikaze strat. Both runners will be out of bombs. And get rewarded with the power glove and 3 more bombs.
That could not have been more clutch.
That could not have been more clutch if they tried.
Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah. For those wondering, the only other way you can get into this chamber other than going back through escape again is to lift a white stone in front of the grave. But you need the power gloves to do that, so that is a very lucky find for Acmlm and inthenameofDT not having to do that backtracking. That would have been easily.
They also round out the ruby count too. They're over 100, so they can visit the bottle vendor.
Yes. But yeah, that is... They have no idea how lucky that is, because that's easily another 4 minutes of going through the escape. Just for that one item.
Which is very frustrating too, because what often ends up happening if you find a power glove in there, and this has happened to me personally actually, so I take that personally, is that you end up having to check the entire world, and if you don't find a power glove elsewhere, you're absolutely hosed. We did find out the tier 2 tree pole was, or no, it's tier 1 tree pole. They haven't killed 4 enemies yet, have they? Yeah, it's tier 2. Tier 2 tree pole was just green rupees.
And here's the Aga check. Alright, Lumberjack Cave, not required. And here we go with the mushroom, it's just 5 rupees. And now for the Thieves' Hideout here in the Lost Woods. That is not 5 rupees, that is a lot of money.
Yeah, we're probably ruining that thief's day. It's all good, though. There's another thief in the desert, and this one definitely isn't Ganondorf, then. So now, if we do find gloves, somewhere here in Kakariko or somewhere pretty easy, then it wouldn't have mattered as much to have that bomb early on. Of course, it is important. You don't want to waste the time. But, if it ends up being locked behind other lift upgrade, I mean, it would be a crushing blow for someone to miss that. So I'm very relieved to see that they didn't miss it. But we're going to get our Kakariko checks here.
Yep, starting with Blind's house. And just 20 rupees in the back. But what's in these front 4?
Whole lot of cash so far.
A heart piece. Single rupee. Great. Okay, never mind. There's their Titan's Miss, so wouldn't have been that big of a mistake to lose it.
However, both of our runners do know that they did save about a minute or so each from not having to go back to the escape. Maybe even more, depending on how you route it in. So to get it this early on just means they can sweep the whole world pretty effectively. Now, they got to be wondering, I think in my mind at least, in the back of their head, if their opponent might have messed that up, and whether they think they're ahead or behind at this point.
Yeah, already the mind games can start settling in here. But so far, we got a piece of heart. I don't remember the first item is. There's a sword, though. Heart container. And Quake.
Wow, Quake immediately usable.
Yeah, but it's not useful.
There's a difference, folks, between utility
Oh boy,
and that's useful.
that's useful. Hookshot, great item, good mobility tool. Can check the stun prize. Can kill certain enemies in one shot. Very handy tool to have around.
ACM with the incredible chicken clip as well. Good, big fan of him doing that.
Yeah,
So I mean, yeah, you mentioned it best is that it's movement too. I mean, it's not just access logically.
yeah. And that's because you can cling to bushes and other wooden surfaces and just pull you across.
Well, since we are cash flush, it looks like ACM's opting to buy bombs. I have to think DT does the exact same thing. There are still checks we can make with these bombs. However, you could end up picking up from the one southeast of Link's house.
That is true. Although that is a minor detour.
Hilariously enough, though, ACM buys bombs and then wastes bombs, and then DT goes to buy bombs after picking up bombs.
Well, I mean, they have Mini Molder Cave, they have Ice Rod Cave, they have back in Sarasarala, or Sarsaparilla, as I call them, and they also have Agnes Cave. That's like 4 different locations, only 3 bombs. Might as well just buy them.
Speaking of Ice Rod, we have it in the library as well.
Huh, yeah, so we do. We'll have to wait until a little bit later to see that, but that could mean boots are required.
Yep, so folks, if you're not familiar with why that would be the case, if we end up having a crystal at Turtle Rock, that's the only place that's going to need it. So, if we end up needing to finish Turtle Rock, we have to have the boots to access that ice rod in the first place. That could also mean boots could potentially be on, say, Laser Bridge.
Yeah. And there's our Moon Pearl, so now we have Dark World access. However, we do not have access to the Pals of Darkness region. That requires us to have the hammer or the flippers.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't think there's any kind of water walk setup that you can do without boots.
There is a fake flipper setup that requires a bottle.
Oh,
with
a fairy revival?
Yeah, fairy revival setup. I saw it, I think, in the Key Sandy tournament once.
Yeah, there are some exotic things you can do in this game. This is a perfectly programmed game with no flaws whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, heck, we're finding new tricks every day. Matter of fact, there was one just not even a month ago that we found.
Yeah, it was the biggest time save in this game speedrun, for the last 3 or 4 years.
And there's our blue mail here in Mini Molder Cave. Nice half defense to have.
Yeah, with only 5 or 6 hearts to work with, very, very welcome find.
What was the recent trip discovered? It's called I hear it being called Spooky Action Glitch. Basically, you can fire rod dash in Misery Mire to hit crystal switches and other locations. So basically, you can just go through there without actually going out of your way to hit a crystal switch. It's pretty interesting.
Probably the best top-down explanation of it would be it's a memory storage thing with sprites. There's 10 of them you can have on screen, and you can store an altitude value that messes with where the splash damage hits for the fire rod.
And we're seeing a sequence break here. DT gonna traverse the dark rooms of the Death Mountain and go see the old man. And I think Acmlm is gonna follow suit.
I mean, it's definitely something that's going to give them a lot. We have Dark World access, mitts, and hookshot, so we have all of the mountain available to us except for Tower of Hera, which without the hammer or mirror, we won't be able to access right away. But it does tell us a lot, though. If we find something important up here, and we very likely will, we'll know whether or not the lamp was a big factor or if flute was a factor, one of those two, in progressing us to those items, and that can give us some information.
Yes. Most importantly, if we find one or the other here, because that means the flute or the lamp is somewhere that is not on Death Mountain or locked behind it. You still need one, but the other one could be up here.
Well, it's Big 20 on top of Spectacle Rock and a mail upgrade, so we have all three of our damage prevention items here.
Yep.
Already in 15 minutes.
And that will be a 75% cut, half into half.
Yeah, with some small variations depending on specific enemies. This game is kind of weird how it does damage as well, but for the most part, that is the rule.
Yeah, I mean, there's invisible quarter hearts, apparently.
Oh yeah, there's definitely quarter hearts. You'll see it best if you're in Escape, getting hit by rats. I can't tell you how many times I've almost lost a run in Escape for that. Well, do I have half a heart or quarter heart?
And there's just 2 pieces of heart there in what we call Paradox Cave, because we're on the basement first floor, but apparently we went downstairs to go up to the first floor.
In my opinion, it makes this bomb jump that we might see from DT next even more confusing. I mean, is it a vertical bomb jump?
And we see the same cart, the normal heart container, 5 bombs, healthy seed.
What?
That's like 3 different health upgrades in a row.
DT recognizing his setup wasn't good there.
Very nice.
Chad asking how DT has a slight edge on ACM. A little bit of escape movement as well as better bombing there. And then since then, it's been basically just a faster sequence break up to the top of Death Mountain.
Yeah. These runners are very good, not gonna lie. It's just a matter of execution is what's caused our small gap at this point in time.
Well, time to get a stretch in. It's going to be a little while before we're done with this cave.
Yep. Oh, yeah, ACM did Ice Rock Cave also. I forgot about that. Alright. To snare booster here, what we call Spiral Cave. I mean, it's fairly obvious why, if you're looking at Acmlm screen.
Hey, NMG runners love to call it Pump Cave. Because for quite a long time, you have nothing to do but practice pumping. So a little bit of movement tech that might be of interest to people, because there are a couple of different ways to use it. Link's walk animation alternates between 2 and 1 pixels per frame. It starts at 2 pixels per frame going cardinally north or west, and starts 1 pixel south or east. So you can kind of take advantage of that sometimes to gain a couple of extra frames, but it's also useful if you're trying to line Link up, particularly for bomb jumps using pause buffers. For example, you might see it in Palace of Darkness in this run.
Yeah, and now we're going to see the Super Bunny Cave, as it's called, because this is one of the few caves you can easily get to do the Super Bunny glitch and get items here without the Moon Pearl. Although it is not considered in the logic to do so.
Yeah, it would be very strange if we were expected to do that as Bunny form. But if you were Bunny Link, oh, we get a map check. 5-6 is Thieves Town and Turtle Rock.
And our pendants are in Skullwoods, and it looked like Pod.
Those are some pretty strange locations. I mean, not strange, everything is up on the table, but get another map check for posterity.
Did we get the pendant or the medallion for Turtle Rock? I missed it.
No, I don't think you checked it.
All right, well, we now know that boots are required for the seed somewhere. There's our first shield. There's our lamp. That's actually huge.
Yeah, so with that knowledge, we now know that the flute had to have been accessible to us before we came up to the mountain. Now, that does tell us that the flute is not on the mountain, which may lead our runners to head elsewhere, possibly into Village of Outcasts.
And we do have access to Turtle Rock. It is Quake.
Well, so it's sure looking a lot like Turtle Rock. We just need that Cane of Samaria to get a little further in, maybe even a Fire Rod possibly, but...
Yeah. We do have the medallion requirement, though.
Yeah, that's always a very nice thing to find out, particularly if it's a 5-6 crystal at that. So if you haven't tuned into Link to the Past or Randomizer, the 5th and 6th crystal in the Dark World will get us access to a fairy.
Forgot about the hammer. Hammers are just basically super required, so there's no point in really mentioning it.
Oh, right, you can't even get into that portal without it.
Chat correcting us. Thank you, chat.
We can always count on you, chat.
Alright, chess game. Fairy in a bottle! That's actually important, because of what I said earlier, or with the fake liver setup to Palace of Darkness through water walking.
And not only that, but we haven't checked the Sick Kid, because we haven't had a bottle yet, so we have a progression potentially, or a logic progression gate with that as well. So whether or not our runners opt to use that and then head to Palace of Darkness in the same fell swoop will be interesting to find out, because they can do that potion glitch if they don't have a bow before they walk in there.
Yeah. And something I want to bring back, I want to rewind to us finding the lamp on Dark Death Mountain. That means that the flute has to be somewhere that is not a dark room. So it's very unlikely that it's in the deeper parts of Palace of Darkness. Could still be in the early parts of Eastern Palace. But other than that, it can just be pretty much anywhere.
Now, of course, nobody's been to the east side of the Light World either, so there is still, of course, Eastern Palace, all of the checks associated with that. Nobody wants to do that until they can access it with a mirror and a bow, because then you can do all of that at one fell swoop. But it doesn't look like Palace of Darkness is a green pendant, so there might not be a lot of... or not Palace of Darkness. Yeah, Palace of Darkness. So there's not a lot of reason to complete it. I'm wondering if people will dive into this without that bow.
I wouldn't know. Anyway, we're seeing two different plays here. DT is checking Thieves Town while Acmlm is checking Skull Woods.
Oof.
Hey! Well, we just need a silver tip for it, but there's our single arrow to finish Ganon off.
Yeah, that's a very fun find after you did the Gibdo room. Some folks in chat pointing out that does validate the run. There's nothing rules-wise about that, but as far as memes go, yep, this run is valid.
I was gonna mention that, but yeah, I guess. And Flute could still be on Lambos if Fire Rod is available, I should point out. Only dark rooms are the true block here. If we have an early fire source that is not locked behind the mountain, which is that Fire Rod, we could still have it show up in oh no, we can't have it show up in Hair Basin, never mind.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird places that are blocked off by our logic so far. No flute yet, so we can't access mountain logically. You know, did either of them do the old... Yeah, they did the old man chain because they came up through the mountain that way. So they do have the warp point. They can access it, but logically speaking, they shouldn't be able to yet.
And there is the power of the hookshot right there. Just getting rid of these buzzes, as they're called. They're just Dark World rats, really.
Is that the actual canon name for them?
I think so.
I've never found that one out, so I was just like bewildered that somebody knew that.
I heard it once, that's all I remember. I might be getting the pronunciation wrong. I mean, I call these guards here in the D-Sound Lizavos, but no, they're actually Zazaks, of all things.
Yeah, that's a really weird one. A lot of people call them horseheads, but Zazaks is actually the right name for it. And thank you for pronouncing that correctly, because I'm really bad at that. Folks, if you ever wanted to find out where most of your your favorite enemies in Zelda come from. Most of them are not from this game. There's some weird names like the Dodongos, they're Kodongos.
Yeah.
You
Also,
finally get an item.
yeah, ether found in the main chest of Thieves Town. Has to nope out of getting the chest here, though.
ACM getting cash money in the dig game. He's just walking away from that.
Yeah, it's because he got the last item he got was a big 20, I think.
Also, it looks like chat's pointing out to us, and I appreciate you catching it. It looks like it's a full magic drop for our stun prize, which is really handy.
All right, and here we go, the blind fight. If you know what you're doing, it's a perfect scripted fight every single time.
Yep, all you gotta do is hit it the head as early as possible every time, and besides a slight little blip there at the end, DT had a nearly flawless fight.
Yep. And there's bombs at Stumpy, so nothing major there. And once again, there's that mobility option I was mentioning as well. You're seeing that Acmlm is using it to move a little bit faster across the overworld here.
Yeah, we're saving frames at a time, but frames add up.
Yeah, the biggest overworld transit speed save would obviously be the boots, but we don't have those yet. And it's Frog World Tour time as we go to what is known as Hype Cave. Hasn't lived up to its hype since last year. But maybe today it can get some old glory back. Not a strong start, though.
Yeah, the Thief pays as a cover.
Oh, wait!
Hammer!
And that's it. But Hammer, very important item.
Hype enough cave.
Yeah, I'd give that a solid 7. The rest is
Just because it's Hammer.
Yeah, just because of the hammer.
Plus, unlike most clubs that you go to, that Thief actually paid us a cover to get in. Well, so that hammer does a lot for us, though. We can access a ton of different checks and a ton of different parts of the Dark World. The bridge that links between, well, no pun intended, links between the Bomb Shop and Palace of Darkness, it also blocks most of the left and right side of the world from each other. So those hammer pegs there, we can now cross. We also have a couple of easy portals available to us at Flute Location 5, and of course, on top of Death Mountain, we can now access Tower of Harrow.
Yep. And there's Arcana Samaria, so Fire Rod pending, we do have access to go try to dip Turtle Rock a bit. But, probably the most important thing, and unfortunately for our chat, Rip Aga, we have the hammer that completely nullifies any and all chances of us fighting him.
Yep, it would take some kind of extremely strange logic where we had to get Aganim for the bridge for some reason, but we will never have to do that. We have the hammer.
I mean, you can still do it if you want to get the big bomb faster, but no, there's other ways. It's only maybe 2 minutes at most, and there's the hammer for DT. You know what I'm hoping to see from the blacksmith just right now?
What are you hoping to see?
Mushroom.
I'm personally a fan of when they have arrows for Aerosmith, but nope, it's going to be a big 20 today.
Well, the reason being is that they have the cane, they have the hammer, and they're right next to Magic Bat. They could have done a fake powder that was mushroom.
That would be the coup de grace to finish that chain off.
But no, we'll have to leave that up for another time.
I'm not exactly sure why, but DT dropped the bomb there, and I'm still kind of wondering about that. Another thing to note is that we only have Fire Sword at this point, so we are pretty weak in general. Our runners are seeming to prefer the Overworld, not only because version 29 seems to be that way, but also because they don't have much they can do to kill things in the first place.
Well, they do now have the hammer, which does tempered sword damage, at the very least.
Chat pointing out that this could be a pyramid catfish play for In the Name of DT. If you're going to do two out-of-the-way things, you might as well do them all at the same time. If only we had the mirror, we could check Zora at the same time, but that's, consequence of how this logic playing out. Now, of course, we find mirror there. That'd be a fantastic routing decision, whether it's on purpose or not.
Yeah. It's fighter short and fighter shields right now for both runners.
Yep, we found both of those pretty early on. Kakariko, I believe, for the shield as well. The sword was definitely in the well. We're gonna get our catfish check here. This is a big time investment, so here's hoping it pays off for him.
Nope, that's just ammo.
Before the arrows even reach the top of their parabolic arc, in the name of DT is noping out of there with the saving quit. And he's going to bring his friend, who previously was Jeremiah the Bullfrog, is now the world-renowned blacksmith.
So we're about to see Acmlm go through Thieves down here as well. They're basically just walking over their other routes here. We have yet to see anything really significant yet.
Yeah, despite these divergences, they are converging now, and by the looks of things, you know, we're not going to... We already know that there's nothing really of value in Thieves Town. We are going to find Arcana Samaria here for the name of DT, but since we do have a brief lull in the action here, be a great time to remind everybody, if you like what you're seeing, and I'm enjoying this race so far, I'm sure it's going to be very exciting to see the conclusion of it, give these guys a follow. You know, they're going to be running in this tournament for hopefully longer than, you know, 2 matches. I'd love to see a best of 3 go all the way to 3, but this is do or die time. It is an elimination bracket at this point.
Yeah. And as far as I'm trying to think here where our progression lies. I think it's the eastern area.
You know, that is the one place we haven't been, but DT's betting on Turtle Rock?
I mean,
Or Tower of Hera.
That lamp is a sequence break. Actually, just being on the mountain in general is a sequence break at this point.
Yeah, and there's no way for us to tell exactly where he's going just yet. Until he gets to the top, we're not going to know if this is Tower of Hera or Turtle Rock. But if it's Turtle Rock, he's going to find out very quickly whether or not he's Fire Rod blocked, and that could be very useful information to have for later.
Yeah, he could try to go all the way down. I think there was, in an earlier version of the randomizer, I think Fire Rod could be as deep as Laser Bridge.
I've seen it before. Version 6 and 7, actually. That was kind of common.
I saw it in, like, version 25, 26.
See, I sound like an old guy when I say that, but I mean, the logic numbers, or the version numbers, went up a lot faster after version 8. Well, here's that Hera play. So we're going to find out pretty quickly what we have here. We know that we have a fire source and a heart, meaning that we only have so many things we can access at this point in this dungeon.
Yeah, that fire source, though, is technically... Well, this whole dungeon is technically a sequence break.
In the meantime, we have a blind fight for ACM. He runs, you know, NMG as well, so I don't think he's going to have any issues here. He's even doing slashes just to show a little bit of extra confidence. Although GT technically had a better fight, ACM taking a couple of extra hits right there at the end, possibly even getting frame ruled. That was a really weird slash.
Alright, so here we go. 2 more items here in Tower Hera. Compass found. Small key. Oof. Interesting place to land. So that means that the other item or the map is on Moldorm and the Rainer's in the basement. And here's the peg field check from Acmlm. This is also new information.
Well, it's a time investment. dividends not too great in the in the peg market this year.
Nope. Almost did not save equip with the chest. There we go with the Molder fight. Gonna go hammer strats.
I really like this. Hammer is a very fun weapon to use against Moldorm. You have to get right up close and personal.
Yeah. And the dance that you have to get in position for Molder is pretty intricate. Sadly, he has his lunch, and we have to go to the basement.
Yeah, spicy barbacoa burrito, not what we wanted to find there. So yeah, that does, by power of exclusion, mean that that basement's where we're heading next. But he does have a fire source, so I mean, despite he might, I mean, you know, 35 minutes in, maybe he just wants a coffee break.
Or maybe he'll take the time to eat that barbacoa burrito.
He might need to, because Bo's in the purple chest.
Oh boy!
What?
Okay.
Right, so ACM with a massive advantage right now.
Okay, you know what I'm thinking?
What are you thinking?
I'm thinking Flute is in Palace of Darkness now. Because, save for the dark rooms, there's what? 10 potential items in chests in there? Half of which
Certainly a lot.
At least 3 or 4 might be keys, so...
Well, so we gotta think, I mean, because can't have dark rooms, you know, we already know that when it comes to getting the Flute. Flute had to lead us up to Death Mountain, and Death Mountain, well, there wasn't a lift upgrade in Death Mountain, was there?
No, we had all the lift upgrades from the get-go. What was it? The Sanctuary Bomb Chest, the other one was in the Blind Hut.
Right. Yeah, so I'm trying to think like the logical chain that gets us to that bow, because we need to have those lift upgrades. We could have accessed. We didn't need hammer to do that.
No, it was completely available to us from the beginning.
Wow. Okay, so DT is gonna have to, you know, remember that. If he doesn't remember that that purple chest is available to him, or make the decision to check it, he's gonna have some rough, you know, times trying to get through these areas without bow. We do find out that Lake Hylia Island is a full heart container as well.
20 rubies, 3 bombs, and a piece of heart for Acmlm. DT is following suit here.
Just wow, what an incredible find for ACM.
Yeah. It's all because of that logic that was implemented in, I think, version 22, which you can save and quit with the chest of the Smiths. It actually tripped me up when I needed it. In the very first seat I played with that logic got implemented. They put
Stuff
the mirror.
like that's pretty common to trip people up, though, like finding a hammer behind the magic bat cave, because you can technically mirror into there.
Yeah, and well, in my case, the mirror was on the blacksmiths.
Oh.
For the first seat I played on that new logic. Completely off guard with that.
Well, so at this point, it's interesting. DT is committing to Eastern Palace, probably hoping he's going to find Bo in here.
Yeah, unfortunately, we now know that's purple chest, but maybe he can get the flute and be back on sequence. For the most part.
Well, one nice thing about having a hook shot here is we do get to skip a room. ACM is paid off with a big key right away. We already have that map, so there's just a compass, and then everything else in this dungeon is going to be items.
Yep. And with the lamp, even though it is a secrets break, we can get everything. Although, because the lamp was technically flute locked, the flute has to be before the dark rooms here, so it has to be in either this next chest
Or elsewhere.
or in the big chest, and this is the big key. If we don't have that already.
Well, Eastern's going to be flushed out here pretty quickly. Now, interestingly enough, though, if we don't find that... Did you say we already found that compass? I don't think we saw it yet.
Nope.
Yeah, so we have a gamble to make for ACM, who is going to opt to go all the way through the dungeon rather than going to the back. He may be thinking that his opponent would likely not have the bow in this situation, or at least if they're doing this in the same order, wouldn't. and that it's worth it to make this gamble.
I mean, I just full cleared the dungeon when you were here the first time. Why take the gamble if you can do it? I mean, seriously, why take the gamble and go mode a dungeon when you're missing items?
There's case to be made for both, and I'm inclined to agree, though. It's better to full clear. Ooh, half magic. ACM finding from the vanilla big key chest. Wow, that's a really nice find here in this dungeon.
And that puts Compass on Armos Knights.
So he's going to go all the way through, and he's immediately paid off for his diligence checking this dungeon. DT will just definitely get this from this dungeon, but he's going to have to nope out of here as soon as he finds out this is not the bow.
Yep, but at least he has all the items. And it isn't too much of a time loss to double dip Eastern.
The best saving throw for him here would be finding boots and bow before coming back in. Well, we'll get a fast Armos fight here from ACM. He is an NMG runner, so he definitely knows the different strats he can use, of course. Whether or not he opts to go top right, we'll find out, but he's definitely practiced this one. And we get bottom right strats.
And there goes the Armos Knights. Pop, pop, pop. And there's our Compass. But more
I
importantly,
love that poise.
our second crystal, rather. I almost forgot we've already defeated Blind.
I'm just impressed he was able to recover that fast kill after getting hit.
Yeah, very nicely done.
Well, in the meantime, in the name of DT's heading to Skull Woods to clear out the 2 item locations that are here. We've already found out that everything accessible to us so far is not of value. This is going to be a small, or just 1 arrow. But with that Cane of Samaria, definitely a less painful check.
Yeah, and we're seeing Acmlm routing from Eastern to the Dark World. So it's going to check the Palace of Darkness area after paying a visit to everyone's favorite monkey, Kiki.
Yeah, thankfully we're not rupee poor here. We have 110 and then some to spare. I don't think we're missing anything we need for this dungeon, are we?
No, we are not. Although, once again, we found the lamp inside Hookshot Cave. So any dark rooms here are technically sequence breaks. But if the flute is up front here in any of the non-dark rooms, then we just avoided a double dip in a pod. Double dip independent pod, I might add. If there's any other progression beyond that.
Yeah, this is a really fascinating dungeon to watch at this point. And we don't have mirror either, so the routing here kind of stinks.
Maybe Mirror's in here. We don't know yet. Is this the key?
Wow, there's that flute.
So there's the flute, which gets us our lamp. And we know Bo was available, so we were not Bo locked out of this dungeon.
Now, I gotta wonder how DT would react to this dungeon seeing the same thing, not having that bow yet. Like, where would that send him?
It might send him over to the Mire area. Can't do much there, but at least check Mire's shed.
And of course our medallion requirement, as that is a required dungeon anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to just say that Acmlm might go check that.
Ooh, DT has his chest.
He'll have his bow here in just a little bit. If he doesn't accidentally leave it behind.
Well, that's a clutch development for him. That would have been potentially something that could have, ruined his race. So DT is back in it as soon as he gets that bow.
And Big Key was over here on the Bolock side.
Well, 45 minutes in, I gotta wonder how DT feels about this. I mean, in the name of DT, actually, I should probably say his full name, but with a bow this late in the seed, you gotta feel pretty behind. Of course, from what we know, they're actually pretty close together. I mean, both of them have two crystals each, and in very different places. DT will be able to take care of Eastern when he does Palace of Darkness as well.
Yep.
And DT is gonna go over and check Agina. I don't think Acmlm did this. If he did, I've forgotten. Only a bomb booster on Desert Ledge. Someone is asking, will these be on YouTube? I believe so. I don't know the exact channel though, so.
As far as I've seen, all the speed gaming videos have been on Speed Gaming's YouTube channel, so that's been pretty reliable. It does take some time, though. I mean, there have been hundreds of matches per week, so give them a little bit to catch up. The VOD, whoever's in charge of that, I want to say Zelmus does some of them, or at least he did for MG. They have quite a task ahead of them.
Very nice hammer yum there, Acmlm. I still need to practice that trick.
I think he did that with no extra buffers, maybe one extra.
Setting up bufferless is amazing.
It's funny though, when people learn it, they often have an easier time doing bufferless until they've practiced like pause buffers. If you've never done pause buffers for a game before, it's very weird and awkward to do. But it's also way less reliable. So I actually learned to bufferless first. I can't do it reliably though. And so Acmlm really showing us just how much he's practiced this game. He was able to do that without even a second thought in his mind. He just knew the setup he had to do for it.
And there is our Master Sword. And the green goo.
Also, a magic refill not nearly as valuable as that Master Sword is. That Master Sword is going to make everything a lot easier to deal with, and it does technically allow us to finish the game, although we probably want to see a Tempered Sword.
Yeah, I believe the Sphere Logic does want you to find the silvers at some point before you can complete the goal.
I mean, logically speaking, you have to be able to full clear the game anyway.
Yeah.
But, I mean, to finish Ganon, you're expected to have at least Master Sword minimum.
Well, yeah, this is no glitches logic though, and silverless is technically a glitch. So it's a very complex thing. We're just gonna stop right there and move on.
I was gonna say I'm not sure on that, but as far as the flute goes, though, the goose is about to be loose, and we'll probably get you a better answer on that because I'm not sure on that question either, to be honest with you. But with the bird available to us, Mire area becomes accessible. This is technically what puts us into logic for Death Mountain, so Hera seems like a more appealing play at this point for ACM. Although he is going to go to Mire because that's what he doesn't know about yet.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Chat's asking about audio and people being ahead. Nobody's really that far ahead. I mean, you don't want to read too much into the crystal progression or anything else like that just yet, because pretty much all of the things that our runners are checking are things that other runners have done, except for Mire area here.
Yep, which has our container and some more arrows. But yeah, as a general rule of thumb, neither runner is truly ahead until they have got everything they need to finish the game.
Oh wow, and we needed ether for Misery Mire, so we don't need any more medallions unless for some reason Fire Rod's an Ice Palace.
Yeah, that would be a thing.
I'm totally not crossing my fingers right now. And it's pretty low chance of finding it here in Misery Mire. There are only 2 items here in Misery Mire, and this is a huge time sink to do everything in the dungeon. So ACM really banking on finding something here, or he just wants to complete it because he can.
Yeah, I'm just looking at our pendant layout here, trying to figure out if we got any chance of pedestal life, and no, I'd say it's pretty slim to none. The only thing that I could foresee is a boots on pedestal. But that is extremely situational, and it's based on Desert Palace entirely.
You know, though, if that happened, that would open up the possibility of some double or triple dips into Turtle Rock as well.
Another bottle here for Acmlm. That's our first item here out of Mire. Meanwhile, DT will be getting their flute. We'll see if he decides to nope out or continue looking for items. Choosing to keep going.
Well, so people talking about mirror at pedestal. Technically, if we find book, possibly.
Yeah, because that's the thing. And I've said that boots could be on pedestal because we could have a big key on the torch of Desert Palace, which would require the boots, and thus the boots can't be a pedestal.
So it seems like desert's kind of the key to everything, isn't it? Maybe even Sahazula.
Yeah. Or at least in terms of a Pedsi being on the table. There's still some other options here.
Yeah, come to think of it, nobody's checked Zora.
Yeah, the entirety of Zora's domain has yet to be touched. We only can logically get 1 item, though, and that is paying the king of Ribuffs himself.
Wouldn't it be wild, though, to see a fake flipper play this late in the seed?
I wouldn't put it past them.
Wow, DT shucking and juking everybody in that room.
Yeah, I don't know what those enemies are called.
Hard hat beetles. Or at least I think they are.
I think they were beetles of some kind. I just didn't know their full name.
Yep, they're hard hat beetles. Since we started talking about it earlier, I pulled up a list of all the enemy names because I'm like, wait a second, I don't want to be wrong about that twice. It's actually a pretty interesting, read if you guys ever want to go diving into a wiki.
All right.
Well, ACLM has a boss fight here with Vitreous, and he's going to do WQ damage boost strats. Ooh.
Gets hugged by an eye and then shot by lightning.
He does have
Vitreous
fairies.
says, yep, he has at least 2 fairies. But Vitreous immediately destroys him out of the gate.
And he's in trouble again. Has to be careful because, I mean, does he remember he has that fairy?
Well, it doesn't matter.
For what it's worth, I'm still calling that an Expert 3 cycle. For Master Sword, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, very nicely done. Although, just for the map.
Unfortunately for DT, his extra menu buffers here are only going to produce a compass. Still a good hammer jump either way.
Yeah, very nice hammer up. And we see ACMLM going back into Mire. We only have one item here, but he did not check the rest of the dungeon, so...
Yeah, this is a pretty common play to see from people who, know they have to finish the dungeon. He's also using his sword beams this time, which I appreciate and admire too. It's only going to be a 2-cycle for these Wizrobes. But you'll oftentimes try to skip one of those cutscenes. Those are very slow parts of this dungeon. While DT finds his sword upgrade and green goo in the basement of Palace of Darkness, he's not opting to finish this either.
Yeah, makes sense, at least. And there's another small key.
Also, it could be Torture Room or Vanilla Big Key, or even, I don't know if you checked the right side for the big chest, but that would be the other item location. Potentially even a small chest over there. I'm forgetting for a second there how he routed this dungeon, because he went to Vitreous so fast.
I think he did the usual routing. He's just deciding on cutting chest. And there is the flute for DT.
Play ball. I'm actually kind of surprised that ACM was able to light all those torches. I didn't realize he only had to do one half of those pushes before starting to light them. He actually managed to get them all within one cycle there. We'll be checking that chest in a moment. It looks like DT's on his way to the same place.
Yeah. I think there's very lenient for the timing. Well, that was a hot find.
Mire Rod, that tech's pretty hot, isn't it?
Yep, so that was a required use of the lamp to get the fire rod. And now this one's going to heat up considerably.
Well, it's always a burning feeling when you have to double dip a dungeon to get to it, but I mean, it's better to find it than to miss it. ACM is definitely in a more confident position to be heading to Turtle Rock at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, he's venting his aggression on those dead rocks, though. If anything needs to die by fire, it's these guys, but sadly, they are invincible.
Yeah, just to correct folks in chat, he didn't get Waffle House there because he didn't die to it. If you get really stuck and then you just have a terrible death, then yes, that's getting Waffle House. Or at least if you get, ganged up on. But he managed to control them pretty well with the hook shot. Fun thing about that, actually, if you hit the dead rocks with good timing, you can actually chain stun them and send them further away from you than they would go on just one hit.
Yeah, although, if you just want them gone, you can just spend a little bit of magic. Apply Quake when they're not turned to stone and they turn to gel mods. These little bags. I don't know what they're called.
Oh, those jelly things. Good question.
I'm just gonna call them chews. Just give them a slap and get them out of your way.
Frantically looking it up.
There is the other bottle for DT, now up to 3 himself.
Well, I don't even think it's listed. Oh, they're just called slimes.
Makes sense.
This is an educational stream, okay? Moving on, though, DT is about to find his fire rod. Seems to be heading towards torture rooms and the big key chest as well. ACM is climbing the tower. He won't find much of value up here, but he will get that crystal.
He's not going to check the cutscene chest just yet, unfortunately. That's usually safe for last. But that is where our fire rod is, folks, if you are just now tuning in.
Oh, interesting. He makes the diversion back towards it, so this is going to save him some time.
You might just be getting the chest up here. here.
Which is also a distinct possibility, so he may end up losing time anyway. That Slash might be saying something, though. He wants to block these tiles, but maybe it was a little bit of frustration as well. He knows he's going to this cutscene room. Well, here's that Moldorm fight. Yet another hammer strat for this one. Definitely a fan of these runners today.
Yep, and another Moldorm falls to the mighty hammer.
So as a quick status update, it looks like right now in terms of crystal progression, ACM does have an advantage by just one dungeon. However, DT is also almost done with Meyer and will be able to finish the basement in relatively quick order. So this is still looking really close.
Yep. Oh,
Plus
now we got
ACM
all...
here has to do the basement.
Yeah. I think at this point, it is a plan Turtle Rock. I know we can't clear it, but I have a feeling that we need to go there to at least get the flippers. This is my gut feeling. You need to get the flippers out of Turtle Rock. Then one of either Swamp or Ice has the boots, and then you have to go back to Turtle Rock to finish.
That seems pretty sensible to me. Of course, we could potentially have vanilla flippers. That'd be pretty funny. And that's really the big reason why we don't know who's really in the lead at this point. I mean, yeah, you can call a lead in a randomizer. It's kind of silly until you have go mode to do so. But all the same, you know, we might end up finding, say, boots in some very random place that DT checks that ACM doesn't. And that could be a 20 to 30 minute diversion for any runner. So that's why we're a little hesitant to say someone's, you know, got a lead until they pretty much, you know, are in go mode.
Yep. So now that Acmlm has his item, he's going to get out of Hera here and check the rest of the overworld. With the hammer, Spike Cube is now also in play. Does have just barely enough health to walk across the spikes. But no, it looks like he is going to check Turtle Rock. Or enter it.
And at the same time, we'll get a very similar fight from DT for Vitreous here. He might be able to avoid using a fairy altogether, which would save him time on the fight.
Just has to dodge the lightning, which gets faster the more eyes are gone.
Yep, if only we could overclock the Super Nintendo.
Oh god, it's overclocking Vitreous.
I mean, that's essentially what it is. It's clock speed of the game. It can't process lightning cycles that fast when there's so many eyes on screen.
Oh, I see what you mean now. I thought you meant, like, modifying the game itself.
No, but I mean, the funny thing about it, too, is that the hardware technically could have done that back then. It's just they chose not to. But DT finishing off his Vitreous fight with exactly enough arrows. Very impressive arrow count there. He's going to head... Yeah. Ooh, he's got his flute out.
Heading to... Oh, he's going to finish Skull Woods, it looks like. There is at least one other item in there.
And that could be a really fantastic thing for DT, but this is a big gamble to make. I mean, one item location and a boss kill.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Acmlm is dipping Turtle Rock, has everything we need to get to Laser Bridge. However, if he finds boots here, this is a forced double dip. And you might as well stick around to go all the way to that Laser Bridge in case there's something else.
Yeah, because he's only coming up keys right now, and that's not really that useful. Now that would be a really big swing for In the Name of DT, is if he can find a way to avoid doing the double dip of Turtle Rock that Acmlm has already resigned himself to. Oh, there's the flippers!
All right. So now I'm already 1 for 3 on the steps here necessary. Now flippers need to lead to the mirror and or the boots.
That seems pretty likely at this point, although there are still some places on the table. ACM is going to opt to continue through the dungeon because one of the worst things you can do is not complete your play. And if he happens to find boots after the flippers in here, he will feel very good about having continued in this dungeon. Of course, it is a time sink.
You see what DT is doing?
Oh, is he heading to the basement? We already checked that earlier, though. ACM found out there's nothing in there.
We did not have the hammer, though, at the time, did we?
I think ACM did. But this would be one of those exotic locations that if it had an item we needed, you know, that would be clutch.
Oh, the DT did not hammer. Yeah, all right. There's the big key in this vanilla location there for Acmlm.
So an interesting thing to consider, Swamp Palace now becoming kind of relevant as soon as we find that mirror. If we find the mirror with that, then our boots could be in Swamp Palace.
Or they could be in the one place you don't want them to be.
What place is that?
Slipping and sliding in the Ice Palace.
Looks like In the Name of DT, remembering possibly that he forgot his ice rod cave? Meanwhile, Acmlm cannot check Mimic Cave, unfortunately.
And the big chest here is the mirror, but not that are pretty high or low.
That would be amazing, though. Like, you just turn right back around. No, it'd be great if it was mirror and then Mimic Cave had boots. Like, I would just be like, all right, I think ACM can confidently be said to be having the lead at that.
If it was mirror and boots, he'd be in go mode, actually. This might be a boots and go mode seed.
So you're saying once we find the boots, the run can start?
The run to the goal can start. It depends if we find the mirror first or not, though.
True. And mirror kind of late to be found in this seed. It's been over an hour and 7 minutes now, and still no mirror, no boots. This is a pretty slow mode seed, yet our runners have completed quite a lot of it. Looks like In the Name of DT, though, is going to check the waterfall cave now that he has that moon pearl.
Yeah, these are... Okay, there's the silver arrows. But these checks to DT are still sequence break, but we know they are not. Because the flippers are in Turtle Rock, and DT does have access to that location. He just has chosen not to go over there.
Well, ACM's found
Whoa, there's the boots!
Oh!
The boots are on the ledge! You need the flippers!
And there is one setup you can do to water walk twice, but I don't think DT can do that without boots, can he?
No, so you need to get the boots, and this is mirror. No, it's the red boomerang.
Ah, that's the worst trade possible. Gross, laggerang. I don't want to see that. Get that out of here. DT agrees with me. He's gonna save and quit out of that. But he knows he's got to go to Turtle Rock at this point.
Yeah, Acmlm is now in the driver's seat here. Most assuredly now.
Yeah, so this is a hefty advantage for him, but it depends on really how much of the overworld he's going to check at this point. If he ends up doing a lot of side checks that he doesn't need to do, like he hasn't gone to Zora at all yet. He did jump into the water, though, so he's very likely to go to that whirlpool. If he does, he's got a hefty advantage here.
There's 50 rupees. Yeah, I think Acmlm is going to do all of their water checks at this point.
Well, I'm very excited to see this from both runners. I mean, this is a very tense situation. They both know that they're looking through breadcrumb trails at this point, trying to find their items. DT, desperately hoping for that, flippers now that he knows it's what he needs. I'm curious to see if he's going to do the rest of this dungeon before he leaves, because boots would speed up everything.
I think he'll I think he's gonna get moving here. Because now with silver arrows in the boots, that unlocks the pyramid fairy to have our mirror.
Yes, because they can do Turtle Rock without the mirror.
Yes. And Ice Rod is now available to them because it's on the library, and we've known that since the first 15 minutes.
Oh, DT bails! That's huge! So this actually puts them a lot closer together than they were just a minute ago.
Well, he knows that's where boots are.
Having a little bit of stream issues with seeing what Zora is on ACM screen, but he seems to have picked it up.
Well, we know it's the red boomerang from DT.
Oh, right. Yeah, we just saw this. Well, so, this is a race, isn't it?
It's a race to have your reflection.
And all that seems to really be separating these runners is about maybe, 1 minute?
Yeah. And I can do a lot better than that. I'm sure no matter what happens in this first race, I'm sure our runners will reflect on this.
Oh boy. I think you can see yourself in that pun.
Just a little bit.
Well, they'll reflect on it, they'll refract on it, they'll probably be thinking about what it looks like, and taking a direct look at, themselves in the mirror when they finally get it. Go mode is beckoning though.
And Begos, what does Boots unlock? Boots unlocks the library, which has our ice rod. It also alternatively unlocks the King's Tomb and the Bonk Rocks to the west of Sanctuary, which also have items for us. And if Aga 1 was required for Lumberjack Cave, we would also need boots for that.
So DT's chosen to go pick up his ice rod now. ACM is going to Ice Palace first.
Yeah, it makes sense, because DT wants to have it for the finishing blow. Although, once again, with it being a 5-6, our mirror for Go mode could just be on Pyramid Fairy.
I'm kind of curious to see what DT does here, because, this could have a really big impact on, what kind of lead or lack thereof we're talking about here. He seems a bit flustered as well, trying to figure out what he wants to do at this point.
I think he's going to start by checking the Bonk Rocks.
Yep, so now that we have these boots available to us from such a long logic chain, it seems pretty logical to be checking all of the boots locations. Of course, we've already checked our flippers locations. Acmlm pulling off a pretty good Ice Palace bomb jump, it looks like.
Yeah. And there's the King's Tomb check. Ah, there you go. It's fixed.
And there it is.
There's Mirror, go mode.
At 1 hour, 14 minutes, and 31 seconds, Acmlm is our first enter go mode with a very nice advantage to have that. Knowing that long before he's going to make this Turtle Rock play, he gets to skip. Well, he could end up having to take another trip up the mountain if he opted to go to Turtle Rock first, so he saves himself that time. Now, of course, he does still have to pick up his Ice Rod, though, so he will be taking a slight diversion to do that, but he will be heading right up the mountain as soon as he's done Swamp Palace first.
No. You forget we have one dungeon that required that mirror to do first.
Swamp Palace?
Swamp Palace. Go mode swamp, finish ice, then up the mountain. In that order. Or maybe not necessarily in order, but you know what I'm saying.
In some kind of configuration, we were going to complete these two dungeons and then head up the mountain and complete that dungeon, and then we're going to finish the game.
Yes.
I'm just so shocked by that mirror, I'm like word salad today. Folks tuning in just now asking about where the Ice Rod was. It was in the library, which is an interesting place because the boots were on Zora Ledge and the flippers were in Turtle Rock, which DT has already found. He's opting to complete Turtle Rock first, possibly hoping to find the mirror here.
Which we now know is in Ice Palace. Now, the question I then wonder is does Acmlm remember where the Ice Rod is? It's been over an hour since he looked at it.
Well, one could hope that would be a saving grace for DT here, because DT has quite a few extra routing things to do before he's going to end up finding all of his go mode items. Acmlm having pretty much God vision at this point to find that mirror there.
He's got the flute out. Does remember.
Yeah, there's no other reason he'd be over here.
Yeah, he is in go mode, and he knows it. He's gonna grab this Ice Rod, do Swamp, which will be nice and quick. He'll probably open a few chests along the way, and that's just purely to see if Tempered Sword happens to be in the chest in those chests.
Yeah, Tempered is a much more comfortable fight. With Silvers, it shouldn't be too big of a deal for Ganon, but even then, Tempered's a lot faster than Master Sword, and it doesn't take long to check some of the chests that are in your way anyway.
Well, not just Ganon, but also Trinax would be a little bit easier with the Tempered Sword. Not
Definitely
having to do
true.
hammer strats.
Also known as menu necks.
Acmlm muscle memory into I think he just had a little bit of muscle memory there.
Yeah, that's one thing that actually is a genuine problem if you run NMG, is that sometimes you just do the wrong thing, thinking that, you know, hey, this is where I'm supposed to be going next. I've done it 1,000 times. Very hard to break that.
Alright, so here we go. Time to flood the cavern here that is the dam. And as a result, we'll flood the Swamp Palace entryway and move on. And now fire shield for both runners. Oddly enough, my favorite shield. Just enough protection without being too problematic.
Also, a pretty straightforward Turtle Rock and Swamp Palace for both of these for both of these runners so far.
Yeah, for Acmlm, it's definitely going to be just check what's on your way and nothing else. If that. There's the bridge. Has the small key. Has the map. I think we've seen this from Acmlm, but I wasn't paying attention. Some more bombs. If this is a sword, this is actually kind of a good advantage for DT. No, it's the net. Yeah, we have seen this. Took that net to remind me.
Well, one nice thing about you know, the mirror where it was is that both of our runners will definitely be able to go mode swamp. DT will not be able to access it without the mirror, and so he won't have anything else he's waiting on at that point.
Yeah.
Well, we have committed to doing the Master Sword Trinex, though, so with half magic, it's not that bad, but DT does have to be very mindful of how he approaches this. He might end up trying to burn down the other half.
I mean, does have the half magic. Could easily do it. And there's the riot shield found for ACM. And Chexium is asking, where is Mirror? Mirror is in the Ice Palace.
Wow, that was a really impressive 2-cycle Trinex out of In the Name of DT. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen that in a Master Sword fight in a while.
Yeah, it's 10 slashes now to get him out of there. Gonna opt for hammers, which will be 5 hits. Very nice dance with the snake.
Unfortunately for Acmlm, he cannot do the 0-cycle strat only having that Master Sword. He probably wishes he had that tempered right now.
I love it when the bosses drop bombs because it's like, here, have a little bit of my leftover explosions.
You know, Link, he can't change menus when the boss is exploding, so unlike cool guys, he actually does have to look at the explosions.
And there's the big key in Argus. Not that it matters. 1 dungeon left for Acmlm. That is Turtle Rock. 2 dungeons left for DT. One of which is Swamp, which he has to go to next. And for those just tuning in, why hasn't he done Swamp sooner to get the mirror? The flippers were in Turtle Rock. In, I believe, what was the compass chest?
Yes?
It was in the southwest room in the first area.
I honestly don't remember what that is. I think it's a small key normally, isn't it?
I don't remember.
Although if it could very well be the compass chest. I just never remember checking that in an NMG run.
DT will not clear Swamp Palace. Doesn't have the mirror. And once he finds the mirror, he will be in go mode.
DT is showing us some pretty cool tech here. If you use a hookshot, you can actually dash after, well, during the hookshot animation. Normally, you can't dash with the big bomb behind you.
And DT is unfortunately taking the big bomb here. However, we have not seen this item, so for all we know, both of our swords could be behind this. And if it comes down to a very tight execution race, somehow, DT will have a small advantage.
Well, in the Pyramid Fairy, we get a fetch quest and $50.
Oh, there's that mushroom I was looking for.
So this is a tough point for DT. He has to make a decision about where he wants to go. I mean, he has not that much on the table for him. He's done he still has Ice Palace though, and that's looking pretty much like it's gonna be it.
Yeah, which is unfortunate.
So I think it'd be pretty fair to say that this is about a 2-dungeon lead for ACM at this point. He's done pretty much all of Turtle Rock already.
Yep. He just has to get to the Trinex fight and be done with it.
I gotta think that the big deciding moment for where we actually saw a real lead for ACM was when he decided to go into Ice Palace early. I mean, despite all the other things that these runners had done in this race, finding that mirror was huge.
Yes. Although, we don't have much time left before we get our 7th crystal now, do we?
No, we don't. So, is it a little premature to start talking about it? I don't know.
I'm going to go ahead and start talking about it because I think we're going to have maybe about 30 seconds between then and now, so I'll get the explanation done now. So, folks, we're about to get our 7th crystal here in Turtle Rock from Acmlm, and that means we will be ready to play a game that we like to play here, known as the Ganon Tower Beat Key Guessing Game. Now, hold your guesses in chat, and for the time being, we'll get the game started momentarily. But there are 22 chests in Ganon's Tower, one of which has our big key. When the game goes live, give us a number. You're going to have maybe about 30 seconds between Trinex's death and us entering Ganon's Tower to get your guesses in. So be ready. And if you are a supporter of the channel, be it through 250 bits or more, or a subscription, you are eligible to be caught by our bot for a leaderboard we are keeping track of.
Well, we may have a little more time than we thought. It's looking like ACM's going to opt to do menu strats with his hammer as well, but certainly not as efficiently as we saw at DT here. This is a bit of more of an awkward fight. He's actually getting iced, which could potentially pose an issue. But he is going to burn him down, though. So I think that might be time neutral. I don't know.
Yeah.
Free cycle is close.
We're going to start the game when we see the sword flourish. That sound good to you? Your name is hard to pronounce. Alright, I'm just gonna ask you this right now, as Trinex's 9. Do you have some sort of shortening of that?
A lot of people just call me Yuta.
Okay.
Well, I see some folks raring to get onto that leaderboard already. A few people who have put in their guesses and a few people who've donated to the channel. We greatly appreciate that.
Yep. And there is all the guesses flooding in. Where do you want to see Yuta?
I am hoping to find it. Well, you know, I like a close race. Anything we can do to draw it together. But I'm actually a fan of Bob. Thankfully, I'm not. Well, I love commentating with Dr. Bob-tastic, but I hate having this guessing game with him because he always takes my guess. So 14 is my number, but Bob's chess, basically.
All right.
Well, what about you today, Wolflin?
I'll just go with the other side of Bob, the torch.
Oh, wow. So it's going to be like that today, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Go for both sides of Bob. DT in go mode. Acmlm is entering the tower. We're going to close the game as soon as we see him go downstairs.
Get your last checks in. Well, I guess it's too late for me to even say it at this point. But that will be our cutoff.
Yep, there we go. First item, Cane and Burna. Second item, small key.
Always funny to find like a Y item in your first check in Ganon's Tower. I don't know. I just find that funny.
Well, it is our first invincibility item.
That's true. So Spike Cave technically in logic finally.
Oh, there is a key.
3.
There is a key on the torch, but Rip Bob, he's gone. Alright, so Stalfo's room up here on the left will be chests 4, 5, 6, and 7 respectively. It'll be in the order Acmlm opens them. Number 4. It's another small key. Tempered Sword!
That's a really great find for Acmlm. He's gonna be able to do the rest of this with a lot more confidence.
6 and 7, 2 heart pieces as well.
Meanwhile, we're getting hammer strats for Cold Stare out of DT. That's actually a really difficult fight to do, but he handles it just fine.
Alright, here comes chest number 8. It's another heart piece. And there is Cold Stare down for DT. And we're seeing that boomerang come into play here.
Oh, ACM, the lag strats. I'm not a fan.
It's kind of interesting to see how you can use the boomerang and get through these rooms.
Oh no, it's a great strat, don't get me wrong. It's just, you know, the inferior boomerang.
One could argue that, yeah. Just 9. 20 rupees. We're on to random room. 10, 11, 12, 13. Once again, based on the order, Acmlm opens the chests.
Meanwhile, I just want to call attention to it. 999 rupees on DT's rupee count. Very nice.
5 arrows. Heart container. RP's book manure. 10 bombs. Alright, so we're coming up to chest number 14. Bob's chest. Will my co-com get it right?
I would drum roll, but that's like really bad for people's ears. So at home, go ahead and do your drum roll. There's still a chance for tile room as well, so I mean, don't get too excited. There could potentially be the maximum troll here, and we don't want to, jinx it. That book, though, never gonna get use out of that book.
Yeah, sadly. Alright, there's what Bob would have been, that lower right anti-fairy. He looked a little bit worse for wear. Both of our guesses were small keys. Huh.
Didn't seem to be the key to them finishing up this seed, but there will still be a couple of opportunities here for that big one. With the silver arrows, this ice Armos, or Armos on ice as I prefer to call it. Get your tickets in now, folks. It's going to sell out quickly. Very fast fight.
Yeah, 15, magic powder. Nice to have. 16, magic cape. 17, 300 rupees. There's all our safeties. So it was right side. Alright, so Acmlm. And here's the thing. He started with a small key. He could have gone right side.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's very hard for DT to catch up at this point with the with Swamp Palace, even with Go mode. I mean, it's still a mountain climb at this point, literally, to catch up. But all these little time losses for ACM could potentially haunt him if he has any kind of issues here in the tower. He has a lot of health though, and safety to bounds of safety. So this is his race to lose.
Yeah, 18, 19, 20, and 21. If we don't see it, it will be in chest location 22, which is what we call the tile room, because we always say that for last. 20 is red potion.
Oh.
21 is the compass. It is a tile room seed!
And so it's very unlikely that DT will check that immediately, but I mean, if he did. Well, folks, if you like waiting around for tiles to hit you from across the room, if you like a second coffee break with a wall hug, this is your seed.
Yep. And pretty much everyone now knows it's tile room, so let's go ahead and call it. It is chest number 22. Tile would be the closest one at 19 to get it right. Congrats to you.
Somebody in chat mentioning 22 tiles for 22 chests. Is it really 22 tiles in this room?
I think it's 22 tiles for this pattern, yeah. Because it's 4, 8, 9, 10,
No
11.
way.
4, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 22.
With that, though, Acmlm has a gauntlet climb at this point. Silver arrows, tempered sword. This is pretty comfortable territory for him.
Not only that, magic powder, magic cape, 4 bottles, and the bug net. He's pretty much safe to be as reckless as he wants on this ascent, because there are health drops aplenty as well as magic refills.
Not to be entirely counted out, though, DT is on his way up to Ganon's tower, so... I mean, let's just say something really strange happens. Let's just say Acmlm has a brain fart and accidentally despawns the tower. I mean, that is something that could put this back into a race.
And once again, folks, I want to remind you that subs and supporters are caught by our bot for the leaderboards. If you've guessed anything closer, it's not gonna register you. Sorry.
But hey, we know you're out there and we know you're guessing. Greatly appreciate that you participate with us. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. For you guys, it was just for fun.
You know what's not for fun, though, are these arrow shots. I mean, Acmlm sniping everything in sight.
Yeah. And whichever sword, this is going to be Acmlm's race to lose, really.
Wow. Acmlm has been practicing his gauntlet intently lately, and in the meantime, DT gets actually dead rocked, unfortunately.
Alright. Very clean wizard rooms.
You know, people talking about, what would cause, say, DT to go tile room first. If he thought he was really behind, that's something that could be like a saving throw kind of thing. It's really big gamble, but it's not out of the ordinary. It's something that somebody could do. It's not like it's, hey, what's going on with this guy? Like, that's just something you might do if you really feel like you're behind.
Yeah. But here we go with Acmlm. It does have barely enough magic to powder these anti-fairies if he so chooses, but nope. Gonna take the heart drop, gonna refill in this magic here, and move on to Moldorm 2.
Looking like DT's gonna do Dark Magician.
That'll be a very interesting play. Alright, are we seeing Moldorm's last possession? It's his lunch! We robbed him of his lunch! I feel bad about that! No!
First his life, then his lunch. I mean, what kind of monsters are we?
Yeah, exactly.
Clearly we're the bad guy in this game. Well, here's the Geometry Wizard for Acmlm, and DT picks up his Tempered Sword. Here's hoping that you're good at math, because this is a pretty hard angle to figure out here.
Yeah, each of the fake copies will always shoot an orange ball here, so it goes by a lot faster than the Aga 2 fight, but the thing is, you have to make sure they hit. And that looks like a triple. Other than that, 6 hits to finish him off, and with Aga 2 down, it is now time to fight the pig.
Ruby counts being a funny theme this race. 1,500 dead even for Acmlm right now.
Interesting. So yes, folks,
bombs, 13 arrows.
For those of you who are brand new to the randomizer, let me just go ahead and give you a quick rundown on how this Ganon fight is going to work. It will be 12 slashes or 6 spins for the first 2 phases of the fight, after which Ganon will start teleporting randomly in the room. The pattern is preset for both runners due to the randomizer. After which it is 4 slashes as Ganon makes himself vulnerable. After which he'll try to turn the lights out. With the lights on, we'll turn the lights on with our fire rod or our lamp. 1 sword slash to make him blue, and then 4 arrows when he's blue, and it's GG. And we're already into phase 3. That's how fast it can be.
Yeah, that was a really nice, competent 1+1 cycle for him. But that is something that you would expect from somebody who runs the NMG route. I mean, like, that's something you practice more than any other boss fight.
And there are multi-hits available for Ganon depending on where he's positioned. As long as he's not going all the way to the edge of the arena, you can only get 2 or even 3 hits on him. Very rarely you can get 4. This is going to be a single, though.
Yep has a decent setup for multiple, but actually misses the slash there, so he's going to get just a single arrow in this round.
I think that was actually a silverless set.
That's possible. It's a 2-frame window, I believe.
And there we go.
As long as he doesn't fall off the edge somehow here, this will be it for Acmlm here.
Yeah, he's holding up the sword. The stair slope here. GG to Acmlm, who has won this first match of 3. DT is not out yet. just has to fight, come back and win his next 2 matches against ACLM. They will reconvene at a later date, I believe.
Yep, we haven't seen anything on the schedule for them, but as of right now, ACMLM finishes with a official Speed Racing TV time of 1 hour, 39 minutes, and 16 seconds.
Yep. So yeah, GG's to him. We will eventually get him in here for an interview, but in the meantime, let's just talk about the seed here real quick, as we see DT going over to check the right side. This seed was fairly straightforward, I would say. A little bit trolly at the end, but that's kind of par for the course, really, with Randomizer.
Yeah, you know, it's just these runners are so fast that, you know, we don't get as much time to really react to the trolliness of certain situations. Like, sometimes things just take a little bit of time to set in, like the flippers being in Turtle Rock. You know, that was a late find for both of our runners, and that had a direct impact on, you know, the routing choices that they made. DT here hasn't found his, you know, big key yet. He's going tile room.
Yeah. And you know what I just realized? Our fire rod was where again?
Fire rod was... Where was fire rod?
It was in Meyer, right?
Yeah.
You did not need that fire rod to get the flippers. Would allow you to clear more of the dungeon, sure, but you did not need the fire rod. Oh,
well, so I'm gonna ask him anyway.
ACLM is in chat, actually. So yeah, GG's you, sir, for your race.
Yeah, so folks, if you have any questions for him, feel free to direct him that way. I get the feeling between the 7 people who are saying that he doesn't do interviews, they'd probably not try and do an interview. All right, we got confirmation. He'll do an interview in chat.
All right, so no mic, but that's fine. So yeah, this race was really like I said, this thing was fairly interesting, to say the least. It was just a couple of trolls here and there but that's again, like I said, par for the course in terms of Randomizer. The seed was relatively kind up until GT and Turtle Rock.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing started off with ACMLM with a clutch bomb usage and escape, you know, remembering to save one and getting his power glove from there. We did, of course, find a power glove in Kakariko, so that wasn't a big deal, but from then on, he had a slight advantage as far as dungeon completion goes, you know, doing less double dips, and I think that's really where it came through here. Double dips seem to have saved his race.
Yeah. And, folks, we're about to see what the pedestal is. I think we missed the shovel location.
And nobody ever turned in the mushroom either.
Oh, yeah. So I missed all of those. We'll have to see it on DT's end. Unless, chat caught that.
Meanwhile, it looks like we're going to get Fire Rod strats out of DT here in Ganon's Tower Gauntlet, which is a pretty effective way to get through. It does burn a lot of magic, but he does have a green potion he never used.
Yeah, Game 2, I believe, is currently not scheduled between these two. Okay, it was Cow Sketch on Pedestal. Par for the course there.
I mean, we did find Book in GT, so I think that's kind of to be expected. Well, burning down the Sandy Worm there, taking care of that business pretty quickly. He should be able to climb the rest of this tower rather fast. I mean, he has all the equipment he needs to do it. Probably has seen the dot done at this point, just probably wants to get it all over with.
Yeah, so things are getting fairly interesting here. This scene was fairly nice.
You know, for not having boots for so long and, you know, so many progression items like flute, for example, taking quite a long time to get to, you know, I'm kind of surprised at how quickly they're completing this seed. And a 22 guess at that. I mean, like, 22 tile room, come on.
Yeah. Although no one was guessing even close to 22 on this seed, which is surprising. People, I did see people saying tile room during the guessing game. You actually have to outright say a number.
Nevertheless, though, we are all the way to Moldorm 2 here for In the Name of DT. Of course, you know, as a reminder, folks, you know, Acmlm has emerged from this match the victor, but he is in chat, so if you have any questions for him, feel free to ask. I would like to ask Acmlm, though, when he thinks he might be trying to schedule his next match. I'm sure everybody watching today wants to see the next one.
Oh yeah, definitely. This was a great one.
And I'll also extend this question to Acmlm as well. Is there anything you plan on doing to prepare for your not round 2, but match 2 of this best of 3?
Oh, in the meantime, folks, let me go ahead and mention here, we do have a lot more Link to the Past randomizer races here going on. Currently, coming up at 9 o'clock, we do have Zelda Dasan versus DKS89 over on Speed Gaming 5. And we do have a couple other matches in progress right now. That being Hippo versus Hyphenated and Amazing Afros versus Phyleon. Those are on the main stages of Speed Gaming and A Link to Past randomizer, respectively. Zelda's match will be on Speed Gaming 5. And that about does it for us in terms of the Link to the Past randomizer for today.
Looks like Acmlm has answered us regarding the potential for Game 2 and 3 here being on Thursday. So, folks, keep an eye out on that schedule. Speed Gaming's schedule does update regularly throughout the week. So, you know, feel free to check it pretty often. These matches get scheduled as fast as we possibly can. Keep in mind there are 128 people doing best of 3 matches all in this next week and a half. So, very brief amount of time to have all these matches done. I'm very impressed, by the way. Shout outs to the tournament organizers and the administrators who have made this a possibility. This is still a staggering, incredible accomplishment.
Yeah, this race started with over 500 Swiss competitors. We narrowed that field once again down to 128, and it was not an easy road for any of them.
DT least of all. I mean, he is the one of, 2 or 3 people who managed to escape with a 4-3 record?
Yeah. And for those who didn't tune in for the Swiss, 5 wins was the guaranteed, gave you a guaranteed spot in bracket, so he got really lucky here. But GG's to him in chat as he finishes up Ganon. He's not out of this yet, but does have an uphill battle to get through this top 128 round to advance further in our bracket stage. And there is an official SRTV time. It is 1:47:42 for him.
And it looks like DT does want to join us for an interview. We'll see about getting him a quick invite to our Discord server to do that, but we'll definitely share some words with him about his race.
And he's also in chat, so GG's once again, DT.
And with that, that will conclude the race itself. We'll share a few words with DT before we kind of hand things off to our next broadcast. But so this is going to be the first of 3 matches. We still have. Well, it looks like they want to get both of them done on Thursday if they're going to go to a game 3, which is really great because then we could do back-to-back commentary. I don't know if you're feeling like doing another commentary, Wolfling, but I mean, definitely be fun if you join me for one of those. I'm sure it'd be really hype for chat to see that.
I'll see about it. I usually schedule the day before.
Alrighty, well, it looks like DT is ready to join us, and we are joined, in fact, by In the Name of DT. Congratulations on finishing this seed, and GG.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. I mean, I just gotta say right away, I'm happy enough only being 8 minutes behind ACM. I think that speaks volumes on its own.
Yeah. The main thing is I think he went to Ice Palace first and just found that mirror and took it from there.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been the thing to do. I felt like I had a really hard time getting a clear direction for about the first hour. We had such few crystal dungeons that we could complete, and a handful of others that we could actually go into. And then Pendant Pod being the best play, getting the flute, that sent me onto a better track once I got into Misery Mire then, because that's at least a crystal dungeon I could access and beat. So
Yeah.
it was
And
slow going from there.
Yeah, not only that, you guys stuck around, both of you did, and got that Master Sword, which is really important there, because you would have had a Master Sword Ganon fight otherwise. We don't even know where that fourth sword is.
I mean, there's only really a handful of locations it could have been, but
Well, it wasn't
yeah, I
anywhere.
mean, getting flute nice and early. Pod's a dense dungeon. Keep going. There's probably something else.
Well, there's it wasn't on any of our fetch quests, according to both your end cards. All of that, the mushroom, the shovel, even the pedestal would have let you was just rupees.
Yeah.
I was just floored to see that you remembered where that. Well, you remember the purple chest, because I mean that's a long, slow thing to get, and a lot of people will skip that. And that being bow could have absolutely ruined your day. It would have been a lot worse than an 8-minute difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think initially going back to get the purple chest felt a little bit slow and out of the way, but once I decided to head back to Skull Woods and check the what's it called? The bumper ledge, I figured, okay, let me just grab it now because I'm in the area at least.
Yeah, I think Acmlm though did the full route almost as soon as he could, and as a result did have that bow, did manage to clear Eastern and go through Cottage to the most of his ability.
Okay.
And
yeah, I mean that's one of the great mindsets of this game is once you start something, just stick it out and finish it.
yeah,
And
even if it is slow.
It can pay in dividends so frequently.
Now, what I find interesting that you guys also had access to those flippers almost immediately. You didn't need that fire rod to get to them.
No, for a split second, I'm glad that I snapped back to reality because it would have been a pretty insane play, but I considered actually dipping in there right after the Tower of Hera. And that would have really put this on an interesting ride.
Well, if you had done that and then went to Mire, you would have most likely went to Ice Palace, and that could have been just a completely different story altogether. You could have been in go mode maybe 30 minutes faster. I might be overestimating that, but yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, it was wild just, what kind of routes that you guys ended up taking despite what was available to you. And it kind of speaks to, I think, everybody's, I don't know, Stockholm Syndrome with version 29. We've all expected certain things to happen. And vanilla flippers and Turtle Rock, I mean, who's really surprised by that at this point?
You know what? It was more that I wasn't surprised when I opened it and it was actually the first chest. So,
right? Like, I'm feeling like it's got to be at least Chain Chomp room.
Yeah, I mean, right? At least give me a little bit further in, but no, right there. Just sitting there waiting for probably over an hour for us to go and get them, or for me at least. I don't know when ACM got them.
ACM actually got them a little bit later, a little bit sooner actually. He ended up going full through, but you mirrored out and went straight to get those boots. But he went to do Zora almost immediately afterwards, along with the rest of the water checks. And then I think he went to Ice Palace, and well, you know the rest.
Yep. That I do. I mean, listen, I have one goal when it comes to playing these, and that's to at least execute well. And because I mean, the rest of the game is random. It's up to luck and RNG. But if you can control your skill and at least be constant with that, I mean, I was proud and confident of my performance. So that half of the battle doesn't matter that I lost this. I'm happy with the outcome in the end, and I'm really looking forward to game 2. I think that it could still be a really, really close match.
Well, I'm hoping it is, because game 3 would be a great opportunity to see even more of both of you. And obviously, you've been working behind the scenes, so I mean, for you to be able to keep up with somebody this fast, despite that, I mean, I don't know how you're not pulling your hair out from this tournament.
I like my hair too much. That's why.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be losing my hair if I was in brackets right now. So props to you for holding on to that full luscious head of hair.
Excellent, thanks.
Yeah. Once again, GG's to DT. It will be an uphill battle for you to get out of the top 128, but I have a feeling that you're going to come back and do this, or at least give us a great showing.
Well, I mean, we'll see what happens. I noticed that ACM said in the chat that we were going to do Game 2 and 3 Thursday, so maybe he's expecting a Game 3 as well. I don't know. It's good to be optimistic, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, is there anything you're going to do to prepare for your match, or are you just kind of going into this full tilt?
I'm just going to wing it. I don't have a whole lot of time to practice seeds and whatnot. I mean, if I can do one between now and Thursday, I'll be happy. So we'll see how it goes. But hey, thank you both for commentating, and I'm not sure who's tracking, but thank you for that as well.
That would be Kippy, actually.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks for doing that, Kippy. Appreciate it. You were on top of things the entire time, and even doing the Ganon's Tower game to start and stop it, so I appreciate you being on top of that.
Yes.
With that, though, we should probably tie a bow in it. As far as other matches going on right now, you already mentioned that there's some 9 p.m. starting up. And as far as tomorrow goes, it's a packed schedule, starting at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time all the way until 11:30 p.m., where we have Vooligent versus Willard J. Bradley. A lot of people probably tuning in for that one. Lots of exciting randomizer action. If you want to catch everything, though, you're going to have to follow Speed Gaming 2 through 6, and ALTTP Randomizer and ALTTP Randomizer 2 through 4. Catch all of the tournament action. We are trying our best to broadcast every one of these matches, but with best of threes in a short timetable, it's a pretty tall order. But hey, we can only do it because you folks tune into it, so I appreciate you guys tuning in.
Yes, and while you're following all the restream channels, make sure to give a follow to DT, as well as Acmlm, our 2 runners here today. Also, make sure to give a follow to Keep You. They did an amazing job with the tracker. They deserve it. Unimanistic also deserves a follow. Excellent co-count for me. I guess give me a follow too. I don't really mind.
Yeah, I was going to say, you jumped me on it, but that was exactly what I was going to suggest. But with that all being said, folks, that's pretty much everything we got for this race. Plenty more randomizer to be watched. Anything else that you wanted to share with us, DT?
Negative. Thanks again for commentary. Thanks to everybody that's watching and everyone in general that is making this tournament go on. Like you had said, viewers... We can't do this without the viewers, so seriously, thank you, everybody.
Yes. Well, all right, I'll go ahead and wrap this up then. So, from all of us here on Laser Brass Randomizer, I've been Wolfing0Usono. Joining me on the mic is Unimanistic. We shall see you all next time, and thank you for watching. Good night, everyone.
See you next mission.